Mission.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia Vasquez. I'm the new transit specialist with Transit. Hello everyone, I am Jessica Alcazar. I am with the Aging Disability Resource Unit and I'm the with the case management. Happening to Kansas Area Agency on Aging.
Charles Smith, Sonoma County Transit.
Jared Hall, Transit Manager, Petaluma Transit.
Gary Coslin, City Bus.
Beth Red, Transportation Planner here at SCTCA.
Kathy, Compliance and Program Manager for the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
Cons, Lieutenant Thomas, Lieutenant Advocate, Utility Phillips, and
Okay, anybody online?
Yes, my name is Tony. I'm with GoGo Senior Transportation. Nice to meet you all.
My name's AJ. I'm also with GoGo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Ichis. I lead the partnerships team here at GoGo, and thank you all for your time this afternoon. So, yeah, we can if everyone is there, we can go ahead and kick things off on our side. What we had in mind for today was we would jump into a quick presentation of GoGo and share some background about the company, the work we're doing in other communities, and how we differ from other solutions that are out there. And then we can open.
Thank you. But we're not on this agenda item quite yet. Could you hold on for a moment, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. There's a pause, and I just thought I'd fill the space. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Dan Craig, SCTCA.
Adam Garcia, SCTCA.
Chris Barney, SCTCA.
All right, that's everybody here. So let's go to the public comments. I think they're not on the agenda. Everybody has to add something. The agenda, by the way, is online. It's 91 pages. So nothing, then we can go to the let's see, next point, which is the approval of the meeting for the last meeting. That's May 20th. That's also online with the Zoom. If you go through it, it's 57 pages. So if
You went through it. Thank you.
Wow, I counted how many pages first. Try to print it, but I couldn't print. If there is any no changes or any action on it, so we can I get
I'll make a motion.
questions? Okay, so approved. It's good. So there's no, if you want to read it, yeah, you talk on with it. That's good. All right, let's go to the next agenda. Is the GoGo service introduction. There's AJ. Yeah, he's right there. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just as a quick heads up, it's a little difficult to hear for us. So if we don't respond right away, it's just that we're doing our best to hear what everyone's saying. I think just some quick introductions about my team here. I'm AJ, Director of Partnership Growth here at GoGo. And then we also have Tony and Ben. Tony and Ben, if you want to do a quick introduction, and then we can hop into what GoGo does.
Yes, I am the Senior Business Relations Manager. I practically handle the outreach with other government agencies or nonprofits to offer some sort of solution for transportation for seniors and people with disabilities. So nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, and my name is Ben Ichis. I lead the partnerships team here at GoGo. And yeah, thank you all for your time. I'll pass it over to AJ.
Yeah, I appreciate it. When Tony and I were talking with Steph, she mentioned that she wanted us to present and tell the group about what GoGo does, and then we can open it to questions and answer to Q&A. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I'll walk you through just a brief introduction to GoGo, how it got started, and why we do what we do and how we do it. I just sent a request to share my screen. That way I can walk through the slide deck. Excellent. Thank you. So what GoGo is we're an organization that's all about creating accessible transportation for seniors and those with disabilities. We work with a number of transit authorities, and we're really excited about the opportunity to potentially work with Sonoma County as well as the other cities and municipalities that are within the county. Typically, what we see when we come into an organization or come into a county is we see that there's a number of different transportation options for seniors. There might be public transit, shuttles, taxis, or Uber and Lyft, but there tend to be pros and cons to each of them. Public transit's great if you are close to a bus stop, but it can be difficult for an older adult to get to the bus stop. Uneven sidewalks, it may be hot, it may be cold, and what may be an easier trip for someone who's ambulatory can be more difficult, can be an extra hour or two for an older adult. When we work with communities and cities, we often see that they may have shuttles, and shuttles are great. There's great funding for shuttles, but there can be difficulty and challenges with managing a fleet of vehicles or managing just requests. Being able to meet the demand for the need for that transportation. Next, we often see taxis. Taxis are a great local provider, but more and more we're seeing taxis go out of business, which can lead to capacity issues. And then finally, we work with a number of organizations that have brought in Uber and Lyft to meet an on-demand need. But what we see is that about 30 to 35% of Uber or Lyft drivers aren't willing to get out of the vehicle. I don't ever think that's because people are mean. I typically think it's because maybe they feel uncomfortable with it. And so what we do here at GoGo is we come in as a program manager to support an on-demand transportation program for seniors. And we were started because our co-founder was living with his grandmother and started to see her decline in independence, being able to get around, being able to navigate, use public transportation. And she had kind of off the cuff asked for the phone number for Uber. And there's not a phone number for Uber, and that's what he created. And since then, we do more than 2 million rides a year all across the US, Canada, and Australia. And when we work with our organizations, we come in as a program manager that allows your residents to be able to call in 24/7 to order and schedule rides. Our team dispatches those rides, and we use a number of different services: Uber, Lyft, local taxi, and local wheelchair accessible vehicle vendors to meet the needs of all adults, older adults or individuals with disabilities. What that gives you is a single point of contact for all of those relationships, and it allows you to stay compliant with FTA funding requirements, known as the taxi cab exemption, for example. On top of being a single platform to manage all of your ridership, dispatching, call handling, GoGo goes through and we have our GoGo Guardian program. So we have a 24/7 call center that can take all those rides, dispatch the rides, and handle any challenges. So for example, let's say an individual is getting a ride to a hospital and there's 4 or 5 different entrances or exits to a hospital. Our GoGo Guardians can step in, call the driver, call the rider, and wayfind that driver to that rider to make sure that they're picking them up in the right spot. That way you're not having to deal with any canceled rides, and a better customer experience for your older adults. Second, or I guess third, is we do vetted rideshare. So all of our drivers that drive for us, while we use the Uber and Lyft network, we have a pool of drivers who have opted into helping meet the needs of older adults or those with disabilities. So for example, our drivers within our vetted rideshare program are willing to put a walker in the car or an oxygen tank. And then we also go through the process of matching a driver to a vehicle. So someone who maybe has a walker isn't going to have a Mini Cooper come pull them up, or we're not sending a big Suburban or a lifted truck to pick up somebody who might have a difficult time getting into the vehicle. And we do all of that automatically for your riders, and all they have to do is just call in to order their ride. Briefly, what the program looks like for riders is there's really 3 ways that they can order rides. One, they can call in through any sort of phone number. It can be a cell phone, can be a landline. It doesn't matter. They can call in and speak to a live operator 24/7, 365 to schedule rides. Or when they set up their account within GoGo, we can preset locations. So if they have a hospital or a hair salon that they go to often, They can call in and use our one-touch dial system to get rides. Press 3 to go to your doctor, press 4 to go to your hair salon, press 5 to go to your son or daughter's house. And finally, a mobile app. And what this all means for your organization is really simplicity. Inside the GoGo platform, you can see all the members that are using the platform within Sonoma County. You can see how many rides they're taking, where they're going, and that all gives you feedback for how big the program needs to be. You can also track budget, so or you can set aside appropriate budget for rides and track that in real time. And then additionally, you can also set geofence locations. So if you don't want riders taking rides outside of Sonoma County, if you don't want riders going more than a certain mile distance or a certain dollar amount, you can set all of that automatically up within the dashboard, and we enforce all of that subsidy. And that's how your team would interact with the GoGo dashboard experience. And you also will have a partner success manager that you'll work with kind of on a one-on-one basis to set up your program and to answer any questions or challenges that your organizations come up with. We work with a number of partners across the country, most notably the entire state of New York. They have expanded their program. We work in 36 out of 62 counties, and more counties are coming on board by the day. The city of Paramount, city of Oakland is one, and Solano Transportation Authority is one of our largest partners. And that is the GoGo program. Ben, if you have anything you want to add on top, I would love for your input.
No, no, great job. We can open it up.
I would like to mention, Steph, I have sent over a case study for Solano Transportation Authority over to you that just briefly highlights the program, the reason why the program started, and of course, the success that the program has also had. And sorry, I didn't send this a little bit earlier. We just got that approved this morning, so just for your view.
Thank you. I will send that out to the committee after the meeting. And if everyone could speak loudly into that speaker over there so they can hear you, that would help.
Questions to that? Anything to explain?
Is this a door-through-door service?
That's a great question. We don't typically do door-through-door service. Now, some of our wheelchair accessible vendors that we bring in, we can find vendors that do that, but typically we'll do curb to curb or door to door.
And then in the past, we have reached out to GoGo Grandparent as an agency, and we had requested some data to see the availability of Uber and Lyft in certain geographic areas of Sonoma County, and we never received any data from GoGo despite several attempts to reach out to you guys. So I don't know if you have any data about the availability of Uber and Lyft. You were particularly interested in Cloverdale, north of Healdsburg, West County, out toward the coast on the Mendocino border.
That's a great question. I apologize that our team didn't get back to you when you requested that information. That's something that my team, that me, Ben, and Tony can go and pull that data. It typically takes us a little bit just to run reports on where we've picked riders up before, but happy to provide that data as soon as I can get my eyes on it.
Something I would like to mention. Oh, sorry. Something I would like to mention. We have definitely grown in Sonoma County. As a matter of fact, Solano Transportation Authority right now has certain approved locations in Sonoma County where we transit because of certain, I guess, hospitals or certain members from Sonoma County have to commute to Solano County. So, but one thing I am very familiar is that we have definitely grown just overall in Sonoma County.
A few questions I had for you. How does your kind of model work? Is there any added cost for anyone in using it compared to using just standard Uber and Lyft? And if so, where does that kind of cost come in? Is that like an additive cost?
Great question. Typically, when we work with a city or a county, what we do is we set up a program. There is an administrative fee that helps our team staff call center. It helps us to build out those subsidies. And then we do have a per minute tracking fee on those rides, and that's to help with the live tracking of those rides. It's typically about 45 cents per minute. And then it's the pass-through cost of the Uber and Lyft ride.
Okay, thank you. Are people able to call in to verify the service? One of the calls that we get a lot with paratransit is people forgetting when their trip's booked, making sure it's on the way. Could you talk more about that and how you handle that type of request?
Yeah, great question. Ben, if you want to hop in, but what we typically do is there'll be text reminders as well as we can call and confirm day of. I believe it's day before, day of, and just before dispatch of the ride.
They receive multiple. As a matter of fact, our system is pretty friendly when it comes down to these reminders. That what it would do is 24 hours in advance, they'll get a email, a text, and a robocall, right? And just reminding them that they have a ride scheduled for a specific date and time, and they have the option to either cancel it, or if they don't need to cancel it, they could just continue it. And then the date of the ride, they'll also receive another notification as a reminder early in the morning. And then once the trip has been dispatched, the driver has been dispatched, they also receive a text with the details of the vehicle and all that good stuff. And then once the driver is approximately 2 to 4 minutes before arriving, they also receive a robocall. All these reminders are intact because we have had instances where maybe they forget, or maybe they need to be reminded of where they need to be picked up at.
Okay, one last one. I was curious how you source your drivers, and if there's kind of like a differential pay versus regular Uber and Lyft. Do you usually go through the platform and try to find them? Do they usually come to you? How do you usually do that when you're setting up a new area?
Great question. Ben, would you want to take this one?
Yeah, so our drivers they're Uber and Lyft drivers. And what we'll do is when they are driving for GoGo, if there is an ambulatory need. So say for example, we've got someone who's totally ambulatory, who doesn't really have a need, but they don't have a smartphone. There's really no need to really alert the driver that this person has a special need. So that person is dispatched. We do require that person have a 4.7 rating or higher. So that's kind of that process, kind of straightforward Uber Lyft ride. And then we intervene if there's ever an issue trying to connect the rider and driver. So that's kind of that instance or use case. The other piece is if someone has a walker, wheelchair mobility need that requires additional care and attention. In those cases, we're offering or we're sending out a series of communications to the rider and driver to the driver that this individual has a walker, wheelchair, and are they comfortable taking that trip? We also have a database of we've been around in business now for 10 years serving the needs of older adults, and so we've got a list of hundreds of thousands of drivers nationwide that have taken accepted these trips over and over again. And so we'll be preferentially using these folks. If none of those folks are available, then we're issuing new communications to folks who haven't taken those trips saying, hey, would you be willing and able to support this adult or this specific need? And so those are some of the at least the differences in use case or situations that we come into.
Is there any sort of additional training you provide to them beyond what the typical like Uber and Lyft driver would receive?
Typically, no. We actually are working on integration to pull. Uber and Lyft have like Uber and Lyft Assist, where those drivers have been trained. We did have an integration in the past, but we saw that cancellation rates and satisfaction actually dropped when we had that service ongoing, and so we are reintegrating with them this week to see how that would go. And so those folks do have additional training, and so. While our traditional network does not have additional training, we are bringing on at least testing to see how that performs in the very near future here.
Thanks.
Questions?
I have a question. What are your wave options in Sonoma County currently?
I can answer that one. Yeah, we actually, are you familiarized? Well, Solano Transportation Authority has a wave vendor. They're called B811 Locals. Their headquarters is in Solano County, specifically in Suisun. But I did speak to Rosalind, who's the CEO there, and she mentioned that depending on the volume and the need for it, there could be an instance where she could have a certain amount of vehicles already in Sonoma County, ready to be practically utilized based off of pre-scheduled and at least 24 hours in advance. Do you have an idea of what that usage looks like?
I know we have, I manage a we all manage, so there's a number of folks that are the managed paratransit program, so I know there is a need for wheelchair assisted same day trips. But at this point, it doesn't sound like you have enough ridership in Sonoma to trigger you guys to even have a wave option, so.
And let me so GoGo, we've got our business to consumer side that is serving folks who purchase individual subscriptions for themselves because Uber and Lyft did not work for them for whatever reason, and so they use GoGo to have a satisfactory experience. And then our team, we partner with local communities like the ones you see on the screen to offer, typically tax funded or grant funded programs. And so when we set up a program like this, like Solano County that or STA. What we'll do is we'll bring in the Uber Lyft networks by default, and then if there is a need, we will reach out to local vendors to subcontract with them. And so we can bring those folks in, and then scheduling will be done through the GoGo platform, and then we can send notifications out to these folks to so that they can accept and execute those trips. And so we can bring in local vendors if and when there is a community program in place.
So do your programs offer, if a municipality took part in the program and geocoding, there's the micro transit kind of options where you have that are not necessarily focused on people living with disabilities, but they are accessible. So I guess my question is for folks who don't who are not seniors or just somebody looking for a ride or some partially subsidized TNC type trip. Is that part of your program, or is your program specifically for people that are pre-qualified in a senior or is that's if I'm understanding correctly, that's there's kind of that's the only side of what your service is offering, is that right?
So the program actually, AJ, I just sent you something. Can you share that on the screen?
Yeah.
And so the program is really up for you. If you were to implement this, you have full discretion to build the program however you want, and then GoGo can enforce those requirements. And so we work with, many communities across the country. And so what AJ is going to pull up is a community, the city of Newton, Massachusetts, that if you can scroll down on this page once it loads, show the subsidy tiers. And so the community had a microtransit program that they had in place before. They replaced with GoGo just because in terms of cost. And so right here is perfect. So what they do is and they have different tiers. So you're looking at 18 plus. So there's not necessarily an age requirement of 65. There are different tiers as you go up in scope here. But so the rider, regardless of age, as long as they're under a certain income threshold, the rider will pay the first $3, and then Newton pays the next 13. And then if it goes above that, the $16, then the rider will pay the rest. And so you have control over who gets into the program. And then GoGo can implement each of these subsidy tiers based on your community goals and requirements and needs. And so there's no need for, if you want to expand the scope beyond older adults, you have full control over that, and we just enforce those requirements.
So the general public, if we allowed it, the general public, if we geocoded a specific area, because we had a zone where there wasn't transit options, and we were asking you that the only drop off within the zone would be a transit hub, and so that type of individual could also participate, or we could roll out a program that looked like that. Go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So whatever you want to do, we can build. We just, Diamond Bar, California, Southern California, in a community of like 80,000 people. Their taxi program went out of business, and it's only serving older adults. But then there's these satellite locations that they want people to go to outside of Dime of our city limits, that are approved locations for medical purposes only. And so, you can have younger folks who are not 65 and older going to medical locations or whatever the program parameters are. And so you have the flexibility and creativity here to just to meet the need where it is in Sonoma County.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ask a couple. So what kind of is it your own platform that you're using to impose these, or are you just plugging them into Uber's platform and setting up the geofencing and things on their side?
Great question. It's our own platform.
Okay, and I think my other question is, you mentioned various permitted charges and things. Do you have like a quick cheat sheet of what those charges are? That we would be paying on top of the Uber ride?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I can send to Steph after this call, and she can get that out to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for your time.
Okay. The point, if you want to make it, or you can collect for the community, that this is the part of the community. If you can give them this a little bit, what's this supposed to look like?
So for the Citizens Advisory Committee, we need to have a representative from every committee in SCPA. We currently don't have one for TBCC. If you would like to nominate and appoint someone, that would be wonderful. Angela Condi expressed openness to it, but if anyone else is interested, we can vote on it.
He already will come.
Is Angela?
I'm
And
happy
you're
to
chair.
provide.
What's that for chair? Oh, yeah.
Community advisory to provide more info, fund committee. So it's a robust discussion and stuff.
She had some.
I nominate Angela.
Second.
Unless anybody else is interested.
It's rare to get people stepping
We
forward.
gotta stick us to the others.
Yes.
You can.
Great, do you want to vote for it?
All in favor?
Favor?
Aye.
You said yes. Anybody that is? No. Every time, man.
Okay, great.
All right, you just said, you can send out an email. Next meeting, September 29th. Good, okay, the next one is gonna be for Adam. For our.
All right,
I can also go over there.
no, that's fine. Is this okay for everybody else? I
Yeah,
guess,
I mean,
no one's
online.
online. It's just. Let's see,
Am I hearing your presentation?
yeah, actually, if I can share the.
Sure.
Drive a little here.
Okay.
So. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adam Garcia, data analyst here at SCTCA. And I'm excited to be presenting you today about the results of our performance assessment for our comprehensive transportation plan and land use and transportation modeling exercise that we went through to be able to forecast what we see as the impacts on our travel behavior through the different transportation projects included in the CTP, the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, as well as the forecasted growth in terms of jobs and housing from planned area 2050 plus. So those are kind of the two main variables that we're looking at, the CTP projects and then this growth, and putting those data sets into our Sonoma County travel model, and then trying to understand, okay, how are things gonna change essentially what we dial. So to give a quick overview of what planned area 2050 plus is projecting is approximately 25,000 new households between now and 2050, and then growth in terms of about 53,000 new jobs. So this is a good, healthy, robust forecast. One of the other forecasts that we're also considering comes from the California Department of Finance. Their methodology is primarily looking at how has Sonoma County been growing in the past 10 years, and we haven't been. We've actually been declining a little bit. So what they do then is say, based off that growth rate, that's probably what's going to happen for the next few decades. So in that case, by 2050, we'll actually be have a lower population than we do even right now. So we're trying to entertain what are these different scenarios that we can consider, and so that's kind of a no growth scenario essentially that we're looking at. So hopefully all of this is familiar to you, this CTP 2050 vision goals. This CTP is a light update, so we're really just trying to focus on updating the project list. But not necessarily trying to dig into should we redo these goals and vision. These are still very relevant in terms of bringing zero emissions, safe and well maintained. All of these goals here, community based and connected and reliable. So, but for our next CTP, we'll probably do a more intensive update. So, in order to understand these different scenarios, we look in a couple different categories, and then these performance measures around system condition and safety, travel efficiency, transit, use and active transportation, and equity and environment. So we'll be going through all of these shortly. But just to take a quick step back and think about what the CTP performance assessment is trying to convey is that, for one, it's really a high level analysis. It's not getting too detailed in the weeds, but trying to give a broad overall message. As I mentioned previously, we're hoping that there's still continued growth to be able to accommodate new folks coming into the county or being born, but we also know that there's a lot of uncertainties given the past decade. Third, that the CTP projects are financially unconstrained, so this is kind of our wish list of what we want. There is a lot of funding that's available, but this is and more that will be needed though to be able to complete all of those projects. Fourth is just thinking about our kind of overall transportation and land use framework in Sonoma County. We're mostly pretty built out. There's a couple of infill, lake locations, but it's really hard to, say, okay, everybody shift over here. It's a lot of things are as they are, so it's tough to make too much change when a lot of these land use patterns are already established. And which leads into the next point that, the way that our cities and towns have been built and the transportation systems that are there are going to be obviously, those factors determining how we move around. And then lastly, just thinking about the models that we do use. Right now, we have a trip-based model, which by some measures is somewhat antiquated, but still very reliable and doing what it needs to do. There are more modern travel models that are more akin to, say, SimCity, where you actually are measuring individual people's activities, their relationships with other people, and then modeling at that level, which is going to do a better job of getting at some of these different active transportation modes in particular. So with that, here's an overview of the 4 different scenarios. So thinking about those different variables, the first one is just what was Sonoma County like in 2023 with our transit network, our land use, roadways. The next scenario is thinking about a 2050 scenario, but without any growth, but including those CTP projects. The third scenario includes both the housing and job growth as well as the CTP projects. And then the fourth says, what is it like with just the growth without those CTP projects? So that gives us kind of a measure of what are these projects actually doing to change our behavior. So for looking at the system condition and safety, the pavement condition, if you've noticed driving around the county, is slightly getting better. Not as bad as it had been, a couple 10 years ago or so. And cities use some tools to be able to measure this, which is largely based on the level of investment from the jurisdictions. So that's something somewhat limited for our analysis right now, but a study that the individual jurisdictions can do based off their resources. In terms of transit connectivity, one of the things we're looking at is just increased frequency in buses that comes as part of the CTP. So approximately 200 more transit vehicle revenue hours, meaning more time buses on the road. So that's a great increase there, but hoping for increase of about approximately 19%. Shifting the focus to collisions, there are 2 different ways we can look at crashes. The one on the left is based off VMT, just assuming that where more people driving, then the more accidents will occur. On the right, we're actually looking back in time based off reported collisions through law enforcement agencies. And notably, there is a decline from approximately 6 daily collisions to about 4 daily collisions after 2020, largely COVID-19 hit that. Here we can look a little bit more about the power of the CTP projects when we measure what the hours of delay are in terms of travel efficiency. There's, I think, a great story here just showing that the hours of delay greatly increases without a lot of those improvements for transportation. Whereas with those projects and that housing and job growth, the hours of delay roughly stays consistent with population growth. So not a huge increase. And then shifting our focus to transit use and active transportation for looking at trips to work and then both all trips. What probably comes as no surprise is the increase in work from home, displacing a lot of the other modes of transportation to work. When we're thinking about the mode share for all trips, there is a slight increase in the transit ridership for under the 2015 CTP scenario. Another great measure from this study comes about as the increase in the bicycle facilities that we're hoping that are mostly finalized. I think we just have, I think City of Petaluma just adopted their active transportation plan. The county and Windsor, I believe, are the only ones left. So once we get those final numbers, this will actually go up. So more than probably triple the amount of bicycle lanes across the county. So something really to be excited about, I think. And we're gonna, one of our updates, we'll break this out by facility type as well too, so you can kind of see what the breakdown is once we have those final numbers. In terms of transit ridership, we've got a great increase, obviously from the increased frequency of the buses under the 2050 CTP, going from 2.7 up to 4.0%. That's about 8,000, a little over 8,000 new riders, so that's a lot of cars off the road, and as we'll see, yeah, improvements in just overall travel patterns for non-automobile modes. Looking at equity and environment for our greenhouse gas emissions, the decline that we're viewing here for 2050 under both scenarios is primarily due to the improved vehicle fuel economy that we see from newer vehicles coming out these days. So that is something we can hope for, to have improved air quality, especially around our main transportation corridors, but overall as well for the planet. And so contrasting that, we can look at then the impact of VMT. So even though VMT may increase in the future, ideally with that improved fuel economy, we'll still have reduced emissions. However, more vehicles on the road, as was noted previously, will still lead to more delays and such. And so again, we see similar pattern where without any of the CTP projects, there is quite a significant increase in VMT, but with the CTP projects and that housing and job growth, again, either stays flat if we're talking about VMT per capita, so that only goes from about 29.9 to 30.2, or overall, it roughly tracks again with population growth. Here we're breaking out VMT per capita, looking at 2023 and 2050. Mostly, we're seeing decreases in VMT per capita. The city of Sonoma has a small anomaly with it, so we're trying to localize that problem and figure out how to get those results a little bit more consistent. But here we can see the cities and then those unincorporated areas. As we would probably expect, being further from resources, you'll have to drive more. The Russian River is a highlight though, given potentially just within the number of resources within there, that it has one of the lower VMT per capitas of jurisdictions or the county areas. So overall, big picture is that we're excited that the CTP projects will increase transit ridership and coverage, hoping to grow transit ridership approximately 65%. Secondly, that congestion will ideally decrease with those CTP projects, but without those CTP improvements would increase. So we just discussed the great expansion of the bicycle and pedestrian connectivity is really going to be able to provide people with alternative modes of transportation. One of the things I'll highlight is that from our travel behavior survey, roughly it's estimated that for trips within a jurisdiction, those are about 2.5 miles. So if you have those connected bicycle networks to be able to get to the grocery store, to pick up kids, to run those errands, we're hoping that, yeah, that VMT can decrease even more. And then lastly, just noting that the transportation related greenhouse gases are expected to decline with vehicle fuel economy improvements. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. That was really I was wondering on the housing side, when we're talking about the different scenarios, like the 2051 with the estimated growth. Are you assuming, is it unique to each city to determine that? Or is it kind of like a countywide, region-wide assumption? Are you assuming everything that they show by 2050 is being developed will occur? Because generally. The actual building is less than what's projected. It's always way more inefficient. Or do you assume some of those inefficiencies, like a lot of what's planned, will never get built for whatever reason?
Yeah, so it is location specific to each city. Roughly, our methodology is that we look at everything that's in our plan development database, which we, scrape from the city's website, so we know what's planned to be built. That is assumed, all of that is assumed to be built. And then we kind of go city by city and then say, well, where are there to meet that 25,000 units? You have to say, okay, well, where are there other areas, looking at PDAs, other speculative projects, what was it? I think we even put some new units, for instance, around the what's the mall in Santa Rosa. What was it? I'm blanking right now. It's not. Yeah, Cognizant, thank you. So figuring out kind of like if there's additional PDAs, private development areas, where would that growth like go? So, hopefully that answers.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And then I assume you're presuming smart grow out with the full line. I think that's projected in 2050.
Yeah, and then the 2050 projection assumes service up to Gloria.
Okay. Next.
One new station we've added is the Control station as well, so SMART actually included that just for this expense.
We did add a few units to that for those.
But housing units.
Housing units, yes.
I was just curious if you at all factor in demographics into this study, like. We know that younger, like schools are closing, enrollment's low, younger families moving out. Older people sticking around, the trajectory of older adults in Sonoma County is increasing significantly, so just wondered how that gets factored into this travel study.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me take a go and then maybe I'll pass it off to Chris. I know particularly for student population, that's one thing that we were really looking at, kind of the recent closures and where the state is projecting kind of those younger populations to decline. So in those cases, our projections for schools actually was kind of across the board, either for colleges and for elementary high schools showed a decline for students. For elderly mobility options, I'm not sure if that is included in the model or accounted for.
Yeah, probably the three ways that it's touched on, one is shrinking school enrollments, so that's one big thing that we've done. So basically what we've looked at are current, population pyramids for Sonoma County, looking at age breakdowns and how that will kind of shift into the future. So, someone that's 40 today in 30 years would be 7. So projecting that out, looking at birth rates as well. So yeah, all that age information is, and I think we're showing like a 5, 10, 15% decline in student enrollment.
Yeah, I think it was about like 6% for elementary, I think like 8% for colleges.
So that's a big piece of it. Another couple things is on the growth side and housing unit side, there's definitely a shift more towards multifamily and senior housing units. So, and our tools actually, those types of units and households generally travel differently than a single family home. So, indirectly that's getting at the aging population for sure.
You, back to you again.
Remind me of. Oh, we put up ready. Give me a second to pull it up. There was a proclamation by the board for a week of driving, and this is a fun county challenge. Where people attempt to spend a whole week without driving, for this transit, it's a good opportunity to put yourself in the shoes of the people we're serving. And I'm gonna pull up the dates with that.
Not working on it.
I think it's the first week of October, yeah.
You want me to share that? Oh, okay.
So it's the week of October 29th, I'm sorry, September 29th all the way to October 3rd. And good challenge to give it a try and the fourth after the day, so.
And we'll help spread the word on social media, I'm sure other agencies will get it.
And there will be another event like last year at Cinema Clean Power where we can discuss the experience.
Great.
And that will be on the September 27th.
Okay. Good, okay, we'll move to the next one, start with the vehicle, so we'll start from here and then we go, come back to thing.
No, it's not in, funding partners, we hold communications on 11:30, so we can, as we have a. People come in and get services, in some day of, and we are down at 18 B Street, on site, so.
Can you remind us of the, like, if somebody's gonna drop in, like, what are the services that you guys provide?
Yeah, so it's mostly we got a lot of social security. People come to social security, that's by far every Monday we have a lot of really need help. Reapplying, filing appeals. We have a big team that can file appeals. We don't do housing placement, but we can help people with housing, deal with some tenant issues.
What was the last one?
Tenant issues, so if someone is at the bank, of a big property and maybe the.
Tenant issues.
Yeah, the bank, send an eviction notice. We can make sure that, help them through that eviction notice if it's an unjust reason. If we need home access modification, so that's grab bars, revs, depends on big projects, so we'll have to do. That's only within Sonoma County. And then just if somebody needs to come in and they need to get to senior food programs, transportation, we'll connect them to that agency and make sure they get that service.
Well, and do you guys still have the program with PG&E? I know we haven't had any fires or evacuations, but.
The bucket.
Yeah, the batteries
So
and.
we do also in that program, is backup, so if it's a PSPS event, we can provide a backup power generator. Those, we don't have any kind of stock it now, we only get battery so often. You have to be in tier 1 fire danger area. If you're unable to provide a battery, you qualify for the program. We could put you in a hotel for the duration of the PSPS event, and provide food type as well.
And you're like loaning them the generators?
Yeah, so it's in that, we get the batteries through the California Financial Incentives, it's got the batch of 20 too often, and it's that on loan. Taking it to and it's generally bringing us power, now to the off machine, try to mobility device for about a day or two.
And just for the legal service centers listed on the reference the reference guide that you guys have online, right?
Yeah, so AAA and DSLC have a partnership,
Right.
and it's called the Aging and Disability Resource Center. It's an official entity of California Department of Aging. And so it requires a CFILC, is that?
CFILC.
CFILC, Center for Independent Living, or Independent Living Center. And an area agency on aging have to pair together to form this ADRC. And that is all the services we offer. So we have services through AAA, services through our INA, which Jessica works for the 565 info line. And then the DSLC services, and then we have partners, community partners, nonprofits like Legal Aid, Petaluma People Services, some other West County community services that offer other things, and we can refer people in the network to services.
So we know those systems, so sometimes I Meals on Wheels. That program is not listed, we would make sure to get on that program without giving them the address or to the location. And then for if we have the service system, we can do it, so if we could.
And I know you guys refer to us
Yeah.
sometimes, my question is for.
Yeah,
So in the county, do you get referrals from our agencies at all, do you guys know?
I haven't got any, direct referrals from from one of the transition fees with this client, they do.
I heard
They're
that.
not on Cumulus.
Yeah.
They're not on the
Because
system.
do not, because I know, do not was meant for that.
So maybe we can do a better job of making sure that we know the resources that are available.
Yeah, we're definitely open to that, we'll get into it a bit further, and see how.
Maybe we're putting it into I'm thinking like off the top of my head, like putting it into having a reference on it like that. Maybe compare transit eligible or something like that. It's not really one resource, it's like all resources.
Yeah, well, Jessica here is, I'll introduce you guys to Jessica. Her last name is, but anyway, so she, our Caltrans grant, we wrote mobility management, so it's basically people that call our 565 info line, which are mostly older adults, people with disabilities. And they need transportation. There's all kinds of stories we can tell you about people calling and their various transportation needs. So Jessica is the person that's funded through the Caltrans grant, and she's collecting all the information, all the gaps, and connecting people to the resources. So she would be the best contact, I think, to the paratransit to help people with refer out, the cross refer to paratransit, have a good contact at each of your agencies so that when questions do come up from social workers and partners and community members that we don't know the answers to, it'd be great, and then back and forth referrals. So yeah, so welcome to Jessica. It'd be great if anybody has a business card, could share that with her, and so that way she has a contact at your agency.
Can you send an email? I don't have.
Oh.
You can send an email.
I have all your emails.
Some people.
I don't, okay, thank you.
Yeah, some people are old school, thank you.
I don't know yet.
Old ways are the best.
Why would somebody want to talk? Is it more like the agency would want to talk to you just about your program, or? Why?
Or like Jessica, like if she has information about paratransit, we get a lot. Any examples?
Sure, so right now, like my experience with information and assistance line is that, we have callers calling in and they're saying, hey, this is my need, and maybe there isn't a resource that fulfills that specific need, and so then we kind of try to brainstorm what's gonna be the best option. For me, the reason I was able to connect with all of you is because then I can kind of off the top of my head screen, like, okay, this is gonna work, this isn't gonna work, right? Instead of having it fall on the person that's calling, right? And I think that's what the whole point of the hub is. It's a two-way referral. It falls more on the responsibility of the agency than the actual caller themselves. So right now I have a spreadsheet saying like the majority of our calls have been medical needs, and it's fulfilling mobility things that, a lot of agencies can't accommodate currently, and a lot of them are going from our county to out of county, so the UCSF are in for medical. So just trying to gather.
Yeah, and occasionally we'll get paratransit questions like somebody is having surgery, right? They can get themselves to wherever they need to go, maybe from somebody, but they can't get home. And does that qualify as a disability? Could they take paratransit? Or someone's getting their eyes dilated, is that a disability? Can they get temporary paratransit service? Those kind of questions, like we don't know because we're not experts, but we get them all the time, and so to get educated about, what could we refer, what could not, and rather than waste the person's time saying, hey, call paratransit, so if we just know, have a connection and education, that would be helpful.
Yeah, paratransit usually takes 10 to 21 days for an outreach, so it's not really a one-time. But you can get temporary things like breaks an arm or breaks a leg or something like that. There are temporaries. And then we have a map that's that like if you haven't seen the map, so you can see which agency.
I've been using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right, let's go back again.
Yeah, I would rack my brain. I don't have anything at this meeting, but I probably will at the next one.
Help me out, Mohammed, if there's anything, but I think we're maybe half a year into having passenger portal and passenger notifications for paratransit. So, it used to be the only way you can find out where your route was or confirm is by calling it. Now you have your account and you can look and load stuff online, and then you can also get notifications similar to what Grandparent was talking about. It was the day before, 30 minutes before the ride.
The day before, and then hours before the ride.
2 hours.
And then 10 minutes before the ride.
I think our 1-seat rides are going really well with the county. Definitely giving a lot of rides, particularly up to like the airport road type area, so that anywhere else probably, right?
About 16 months.
Yeah. And then the county gives rides to directly to anywhere in Santa Rosa. We're not doing too many transfers we're in these days, we're in access, I'd say what, 5 a month?
Yeah, 5 hours.
It really depends on an individual
The
ones.
probably they go is to San Francisco.
Right, so you can get rides to San Francisco, paratransit, your paratransit all, there you go. We applied for 5310 grant, we just got money for the last 5310 grant for paratransit vehicles, so now we're trying to buy. What's that? I don't know.
Weird.
We're used to it by now. I'm not. We're getting some gilded electric buses this fall and then new flyers next year, and then we just releasing 6 home gate vehicles, so those are just about to go on the road. And that's all for really infrastructure type stuff. I'm sure there's more forgetting, but that's not.
All right, so our electric buses, we got our first ones in July. They're new flyer buses. We're still doing the wrapping later this month, so hopefully hit the road in October. So we're excited about that. We got approved a week ago, council, to buy our first electric paratransit cutaway vans. So hopefully have those by the end of the year. Sorry. On a related note, our facility electrification project, we had our kickoff a week ago with the groundbreaking on October 1st. So hopefully have that done by the end of the calendar year and have all our chargers in place and everything. We also applied for 5310 grants to put towards our Lumigo service, so we'll await that and probably be about 1.5 years if all goes well on that. Speed to go. There is a North Bay transit event worth mentioning. Of course, September is transit month. On the 23rd, there will be a transit relay event where people can ride all of the North Bay transit agencies in a row sequentially. And so it'll be like a relay, like go from one service to the next and pass on the baton. And so we're starting to promote that, finalize all the details now, but there will be a Luma leg, of course, on that.
And San
Rosa leg.
Yeah, we're gonna be letting have a lot of legs.
I like this one. Lumigo, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that. So we'll be doing a presentation to our council on October 20th, asking for more input from the public and from the council, what the future of that service looks like. But overall, it's been really successful. We've had about 6.5 boardings per hour, which is actually really good on that type of service. So overall, it's kind of met and exceeded all of our goals that we had on the program. Legislatively, I won't go into all the myriad 24 things that happened, but kind of most consequently is cap and trade was extended. There's a chance that it would have ended. It's now called cap and invest. It was extended through 2045. That's important because there's a few major grant funding sources that we all regularly as transit agencies, like LC Top, Transit program, and the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And so those help to pay for various capital and operating projects. So overall, good news, those all continue, otherwise it would have been a funding drop off. So that's about it.
Question, yeah, what's the plan to charge your new flyer EV bus?
In the meantime, until our infrastructure goes in, we're working with London City Schools where we fuel now. They're about 2 miles away. And they have a charger we can use 2 buses at a time overnight. And so we'll only have to do that for about 2 months until ours are installed. That's kind of the interim step.
Gotcha. Thought I'd have to charge.
I looked in Petaluma, there's public DC charging, but nothing for like a 40-foot bus. It's all designed in a way that it's like the Tesla chargers from a 20-foot vehicle. I checked pretty much the whole city and nothing publicly available. That was really great.
When do those go into service?
October, anticipated.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But Sonoma County Transit, I know we got 4 new paratransit cutaways in. As far as I know, they should already be in service. Besides that, ridership continues to increase. Just talking to our paratransit director every week when she comes in for a meeting, you know, we're right at or above pre-COVID levels, so it's really picking up. We've gotten a lot of ridership from students. So SRJC, SSU students that are eligible for paratransit, a lot of them are using paratransit for trips. Free, right? It's free. Well, it's subsidized by the colleges, you know.
No, paratransit is.
Paratransit is all charged.
It's the university pays for it.
Right, they reimburse us for the cost of the trip, so. We're seeing that on paratransit and fixed route. You know, the youth and the student ridership it's growing very quickly, so getting a lot of new people on board, so. It's been great. I think all the partner agreements are working out pretty good, so. Hoping that continues in the future. That's about it from our side.
I think that one students, because they started 2 courses in Petaluma, and they're all leaving San Jose.
And they have to go back and
That's
forth, yeah.
But it's only 4 semesters, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Area Agency on Aging, so we get money from the Older Americans Act, it's federal funds, and we're looking at a significant cut to our Title 3B supportive services, which funds our transportation programs. So you probably heard about SNAP cuts, we lost a lot of money for health education, health promotion money, but next year we're gonna be looking at even more significant cuts to our supportive services, which is like adult daycare, Alzheimer's daycare, transportation, legal, those type of programs. So there's gonna be a lot less funding for programs. So we don't know exactly how the money's gonna be divvied out, but we do have an Aging and Disability Commission that's gonna be looking at it. And there's a meeting tomorrow. If anybody's interested, you can come on Zoom. The Aging and Disability Commission meeting is at 1 o'clock, and they're gonna discuss funding cuts and how they're gonna look at prioritizing programs. So that's just a little bit about the funding. And then I just want to let you know that, I think before I mentioned about the walking school bus, it's a safe routes to school, program. So, Petaluma People Services and City of Petaluma had actually piloted a program and funding for that has been cut. So, if you guys are ever open to more programs in your safe routes to schools, that's one you could look at. But Sonoma State University actually is celebrating on October 9th, it's Ageism Awareness Day. And so they are pairing students with older adults for a walking program. They have a grant that they're gonna announce it's a trail project. And they're gonna be building out a trail and having some intergenerational walking programs where they're pairing their students with older adults and then they're doing some wayfinding on the trail and different things with apps and scans and those kind of things. So if anybody's interested in coming, they're gonna talk about it on October 9th. It's at the Green Music Center. And that's it. I'm gonna cover just.
Give you a chance again, so you can have it.
I mean, the only thing is that we recently found out that through Kaiser, if you have Medi-Cal, they have a transportation line that you can reach out to. So if someone doesn't qualify for it, can.
You have anything there? No. All right, so it's your the next meeting, actually the meeting next time is being changed. You'll have that bit with the calendar. It's not the 13th, it's gonna be the 6th, that's October. So those are the 3 items already there, but you gotta add one, something else which you can put it as a meeting. If anybody has any other announcement,
I believe our next meeting falls very close to Thanksgiving, if you're interested in moving that date.
18.
18, are we okay with that date? 18. It should be enough of a wiggle room, but just checking. Yes. Yeah, okay,
Same time.
yes,
There we go.
hearing of a place, we.
That date. No, we're gonna update you with the agenda together, so, yeah. Anybody got anything to add and over the next time? Okay, thank you everybody for coming.
You're winning that in your village.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be the beta test for you in the area, right? Why you got to deal with, you have to deal with things until next season. Come in next year.
Yeah, they're.
Yeah.
You're already with.